This is Charlie Parsons for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on DAZN. Edward is got a lovely little backdrop going on with him here. He looks like he's in some sort of hoodie that
Do you
was
know what? I mean, it's like
him.
it's just so painful. All I want is like what 5, 6 days away, and you won't let it go. Like the
I'm
the the
actually
the,
being
the,
quite tame.
the first two were like you start off being all pally pally. Oh mate, obviously probably going to get a break now, so don't want to bother you or anything. But if you were available, for a Zoom, then I would probably make myself available. And then it's like obviously just blank that one. Next one. Oh, little August 3rd, Zoom, Eduardinho, like blank that one. Oh, little 15 minutes. It's just like, all right, we have got one of the biggest shows in American boxing history next week. I better do a bloody Zoom with Charlie Parsons. You know,
Persistence pays off,
my
Edward.
old man, my old man actually phoned me out. I think the first day that I was actually supposed to be on holiday, and my old man phoned me out. He goes, "Make sure you get a rest. You getting a rest?" I was like, "Yeah, I've done 2 board meetings, 4 media interviews, and it was like 10:45 a.m. So this is the life we lead, Parsons. We wouldn't choose it any other day, any other way. And
Uh,
I know because you're such a hardworking chap and individual. I mean, you're one of the great hustlers of Sirens Tester. Why don't we give you a new name, which is a Siren Cester Hustler?
Love it, mate. When
Yeah,
on this topic, right, and I understand that it's a very much schedule permitting thing. However, we have got you to say before that you will one day come down to Cirencester. Now, Edward, you'll be
yeah.
happy to know that we're adventuring. We're exploring the more sophisticated boozers outside of Cirencester now as well. So what I'm saying is when you come down, it's not going to be Edward getting mobbed in the Crown. It could be a nice little scenic pint with a little meet and greet. Can we get you down?
I will be honest. Like sometimes I look at your Instagram story, like 99% of the time, I go, this is my reaction when I open up your Instagram story. What a length, right? But every now and again, when you post something scenic of Cirencester, I will be honest, it's pretty beautiful. And I would imagine this time of the year, it's pretty special place.
We are having it
I
on.
just I just my only concern is just keep yourself safe there in the Cotswolds, mate.
It's,
Just
it's dangerous.
I know it can get a bit lively there sometimes. So
Yeah,
just keep your eyes peeled.
keep myself on the straight and narrow in the
Yeah.
Cotswolds.
I did say I remember you saying once that someone I think one month someone stole a bicycle pump off someone or something. So
Yeah, yeah.
just
But
gotta,
you know what? They've only just, like the lamps and that when you're walking through town,
mm,
they've only just gone from candles to electricity. So
really,
the
yeah,
town's moving on.
good. Great banter.
You look like you caught the sun, mate.
A little bit. No, I mean, finished in Philly, had some meetings on the East Coast, and then had a few days rest. About to head to LA, probably in the next 48 hours, and just gear up for a massive fight week. I mean, we got a lot of stuff happening in the US around big fights, around new signings, and that'll be good to be on the ground there for what will be probably 8 or 9 days before what we described as I think one of the biggest fight nights in American boxing history.
Well, you,
And His Excellency, everyone will be rolling into town, and looking forward to a huge fight week next week.
well, you talk about how, people be rolling out in full force. Edward, would you like to know that this is my first US trip in a year?
Oh, you're going to LA, are you? Why didn't you tell me that before I agreed to this Zoom?
Ah, yes. Result. What? So you've done this soon,
When do
thinking
you get
in LA?
basically? I thought one you probably. I was like, look, you're talking next week. You're talking Crawford-Madrimov. You're talking Pitbull Cruz Valenzuela. You're talking Jared Anderson against Bacoli, which we'll come on to. You're talking Andy Ruiz against Jarrell Miller, right? You're talking David Morrell, Andy Cruz, and you're talking about Eminem performing. With all due respect, I very much doubted you would actually get the invite.
Did you
But
know? Did you not
again,
hear what Eminem said?
Cirencester hustler. Oh, what, he'll only perform if Parsons is there.
Yeah, basically, Eminem had a recent thing in London and said that he couldn't make the big performance unless Parsons could come and watch ringside.
So let me do the sarcastic stuff because you just can't deliver it. So
I suppose let's recap. You mentioned boots. I actually caught up with Frank Smith earlier on this morning, and I just said being able to watch as a business, and that when you go to signing these fighters, right? I don't know why the sunglasses have come on when you're indoors, but we'll go anyway. When you're signing these fighters, you give them the sell, right? You give them the whole shebang. Well, you certainly delivered with boots. You sold out Philadelphia. It was incredible. Just a recap on the whole sort of occasion.
yeah, I mean, firstly, a massive night for us, massive win for Matchroom Boxing. Um, you know, when you sign a fighter that you know has everything in terms of ability, but the narrative that the industry insiders will spin to you is, oh, he's not very popular and he doesn't really sell tickets. You know, Philadelphia is a bit of a dead boxing town. This is a great example of why you really shouldn't listen to negativity. You shouldn't listen to haters, or you shouldn't listen to people in life that haven't got the bollocks to do it themselves. And what we decided was Philadelphia is a great sports city, steeped in boxing history. Jaron Ennis is a pound for pound great fighter. He's young. He's a great role model for the city. But he is Philadelphia. Wells Fargo have never done boxing before. They really want to get behind this event. And it just made me think we can do it, you know, and it can be a success. Now, I didn't think we'd do 14 odd thousand tickets, but that was where it went to another level. You know, I hope we do 7, 8. We could fill up that bottom bowl and make it look great. But what happened was, you know, really a history making moment in the city, and a great vibe, a great atmosphere, and a lot of excitement for the future. And as I said in the build up to the fight, they've got a fighter there, not just a fighter that can, you know, be popular in Philadelphia. You've got one of the great pound for pound fighters in the world there, and the future for Boots is very bright, and the future for big time boxing in Philadelphia is also very bright.
Well, I was going to sort of touch on that because obviously we know the home of boxing in the US will always be your Vegas shows or your sort of MSG shows or something like that. But when you're doing Philly to the full capability that he is, that can become a bit of a home in its own right, right?
Yeah, hold on, someone's calling me. This is probably a lot more important than you, but let's have a look. Oh, that is important, but just flip that for now. Yeah, I mean, I think Philadelphia, great fight city. I think there's so many cities and destinations that have so much potential, in all honesty, in America. Like, I think Atlanta is a great fight city. You've seen Tank do a good gate there. I think Washington is another great fight city. Obviously, you've got your traditional stuff, LA, you know, all throughout Texas, New York. And now you've got Philadelphia as well. But I think there's a lot to be said about cities that just don't have big time championship boxing. I mean, surely, you know, if there's an opportunity to have a big event in a city, in a sports city that hasn't had boxing for a long period of time, it's going to do well. Going back to the Chase Centre with Devin and Regis, you know, that did extremely well. And you know, Philadelphia, well, there was no reason why it shouldn't do well in Philadelphia. But sometimes you just got to go and do it. And you know, it was a massive night.
What's next for Boots, Eddie? If you look away from Crawford for 1 second.
I mean, in an ideal world, you want him to unify the division. You know, straight after the fight, His Excellency FaceTimed me and spoke to Boots and said, look, you know, if Crawford doesn't fight Canelo, I want you to fight Crawford. I think that is one of the biggest fights in the sport. But I don't really want Boots to leave 147 till he's unified and been in big fights. He is now the big fight in the division. He's the king of the welterweight division right now. You know, you've got Stanionis, you've got Barrios. Boots is their payday, with all due respect, but that's the problem. Are they realistic on their payday? And a lot of people will price themselves out of a tough fight, as we see in boxing, and hopefully they won't. Hopefully they'll want to chase greatness. Hopefully they will try and unify the division, because that's the target for Boots. Now, if we can't get that, you know, he's going to fight again in probably November. But if we can't get a unification fight, we need a big name. And you know, if you can't make those unifications, then maybe you look at 154. And we're definitely up for the Crawford fight if he gets past Israel-Madrimov, which I think is no certainty either. So the future's bright. And, you know, for me, I want to see him clean up the 147 pound division before he makes the move, but we have to move accordingly.
I suppose on the topic of that then, and maybe looping in a little bit, we know Shakur Stevenson was ringside. He came out and said, look, he's going to explore all his options, but he really likes what you're doing. Do you feel like now you're almost at a point, and I know there's a whole load of cooperation, especially with Riyadh season and everything, but you've sort of cemented yourself now in the US as the promotional outlet that when you have people like Shakur Stevenson and they're able to come sort of sit next to you ringside for an event like Boots in Philadelphia, you sort of become more confident in your position as such?
Yeah, I think that one, I get on very well with fighters and young fighters. But two, I don't think there's anyone in the game or the country, the industry that can't say that I am the best promoter in America, right? I'm not, that doesn't necessarily mean I do the best shows or I've got the biggest audience numbers or whatever, but out and out as an individual, I am the best promoter in America, right? And, we can smile at that. That's not even me being tongue in cheek. That's just really fact. Tell me another individual that's a better promoter than me. Now, again, maybe there's a company or a network or a strategy or a path that's better for you than me. That just because I might be the best promoter in the world doesn't mean that we're the right choice for you all the time. You know what I'm saying? And I think Shakur would agree that I'm the best promoter in the world. But maybe we're not the right fit for him or don't have the right path for him at the moment. Now, all being well, we're a great fit together. But, for me, I look at the landscape for Shakur Stevenson, and this is the same as what I said earlier. People will price themselves out. People will duck fights. And I look at William Zepeda and I think to myself, that's a great fight for Shakur. William Zepeda gets a big payday and a shot at a world title. It's a great fight for DAZN. You've got Golden Boy, you've got potentially Matchroom. But the truth is, does William Zepeda and does Oscar De La Hoya really want to roll the dice against Shakur Stevenson? Now, I hope, and Oscar was a great fighter and he talks a great game about chasing greatness and legacy. I hope that Zepeda would want to take that challenge, but I don't know yet. And that's definitely conversations that I'll be having. I've spoke to, I flew in, I had meetings with Shakur and Jay Prince and Josh Dubin. And there's a feeling that let's explore this opportunity together. No commitments from either side. But over the next couple of weeks, we'll see how that plays out. And I would love the Zepeda fight for boxing and for Shakur, for Zepeda, for DAZN. But obviously it's going to, I don't like, you hear a lot of Oscar, we ordered, we'll decide what we're going to do. We're doing this, we're doing that. But you've got a shot at the world title there in a really big fight and a big opportunity financially for your fighter. Hopefully you will at least explore that opportunity, but we'll see what plays out in the next week or so.
Do you think now, with yesterday's recent announcements that Golden Boy and Top Rank both have signed their sort of deals with Riyadh season? I know yourself and Frank Warren Queensbury have been doing that in the UK for some sort of while now, but it's just another step towards that cooperation. We know Oscar can be stubborn at times, maybe taking that away at times.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, there certainly seems to be that cooperation from others. You've seen Matchroom and Queensbury work together. Look, we've worked with Golden Boy in the past, and I think if everyone can be sensible, there could be an opportunity there. But who knows what's going to happen with Canelo Alvarez, with Berlanga? That could be the first little movement with Matchroom and PBC. I don't know. The Riyadh season support that's coming in via this commercial sponsorship that we've seen now, obviously for a while now with us and Queensbury and Gold Star and now Top Rank and Golden Boy. That's just the overall exposure of Riyadh season in key markets for them.
You talk about Canelo-Berlanga. When I spoke to Frank earlier, it was sort of along the same lines of cooperation and trying to get something over the line. He said that he believes that probably will be the fight now, doesn't believe that Eubank wants it. And it's a matter of, well, if Canelo's going to fight in September, then he needs an opponent soon, right? Berlanga, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, time is definitely running out. And, there have been conversations with myself and PBC and Keith Connolly, who's represents Edgar Berlanga and has a good relationship with the PBC. So everything's been pretty amicable at the moment. There's no deal done yet with Berlanga, but I hope that that's the fight. He's the mandatory challenger. I think all things given on the landscape at the moment, that's the biggest fight available to Canelo Alvarez for September for that date. It's what, 7 weeks away already. So as per a lot of these situations with Canelo Alvarez, you kind of wait to be the pick. You know, our name's in the hat. We've had the conversations to establish a potential deal, but there's no deal yet. And hopefully there will be, but we'll leave that to PBC. And, you know, if we can be part of a massive Canelo Alvarez show and maybe start that relationship, that would be fantastic. And I think it'd be a great fight.
Just a quick one, Ed, on that gut feeling. Does he fight September? And if he does, will it be Edgar Berlanga?
I mean, on the first part, yeah, I think absolutely he fights in September. Will it be Edgar Berlanga? I guess we'll find out. I think any decision will have to be in certainly the next week, probably the next few days.
Anthony Joshua and Carl Froch seem to have sort of deaded their beef at last. Thoughts?
Yeah, I haven't really seen so much. You know, I did read that somewhere, and if that's the case, good, fantastic. You know, they don't need to be arguing. They're two British greats. And yeah, you know, stronger together, I think is the best phrase.
What was it, do you reckon? An ego thing where maybe, I don't know, Carl had been at the highs, AJ had seen him at the highs, and then obviously Carl had his day. I mean, what do you put it down to?
I don't know. Carl's very opinionated. You know, he's very stubborn as well, and that's what made him the great fighter that he was. His stubbornness, you know, in and out of the ring. And if he says something and someone claps back, he just doesn't really let it lie. With Carl, I don't think he's that great at just saying, "Oh, don't worry about that." You know, he wants to stand up for himself. And again, that's another one of his qualities. So I think he will feel like he was just standing his ground, like Carl Froch does. And obviously now he's got his channel, and you know, any kind of controversy is also going to drive numbers, which can be quite
He
addictive.
does sell, yeah.
Yes. So, but glad to see, if it is, that the beef is squashed.
What was the crack with AJ and Daniel Dubois and Nevada testing statement that 258 put out?
To be honest with you, I don't actually know too much about it. I saw some messages going backwards and forwards. I don't know the actual date. I know that AJ did all his paperwork weeks ago, and I'm not sure when Dubois did all his paperwork. So that might be one for you to catch up with me on next week, because I'm really not across that. I saw a couple of WhatsApps going backwards and forwards, chasing paperwork, but sometimes you need a little nudge.
Well, let's preview Los Angeles then. I suppose firstly with Crawford-Madrimov. Frank Smith is absolutely convinced that Madrimov wins that, but I think that's just because he's been to Tashkent maybe.
Yeah, Frankie's half Uzbek.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, he's obviously he was in. I know, obviously, Bivol's not from Uzbekistan, but he was in Bivol's corner, Frank, when Canelo fought Bivol, and obviously I was in Canelo's corner. So he's very tight with those world of boxing guys. You know, they're a great bunch of people, and they give it everything. You know, they train with 100% intensity, 100% professionalism, and they're great fighters with great pedigree. And this isn't Crawford just fighting a 154-pounder that's, you know, just won a world title. This is Crawford fighting a guy with extreme bloodline, you know, in the game. Someone that's been one of the top amateurs for many, many years, one of the top fighters from Uzbekistan, you know, a superstar in Uzbekistan, now an established world champion at 154. And listen, you can't deny that Madrimov's a big underdog in the fight. Of course, Crawford's the pound for pound number one. But I think this is the toughest fight of Bud's career so far. You know, there's a lot of people talking about what's next. He's the biggest puncher Bud's ever faced by far. And, you know, I know that it's only 7 pounds, but once you start moving up, you know, don't forget he's coming from 35 to 40 to 47 to 54. And maybe he goes on, but I'll be interested to see how he stands up to Israel Madrimov. Madrimov is a smart boxer with good movement and great power. And I think it's a brilliant fight.
Undercard's great. I saw Jose Valenzuela spar like 3 years ago, and to this day, I've always said he's the best person I've ever seen train. I think that fight with Isaac Cruz is incredible. Run us through
I think, I mean, there's so many great fights on the card. I actually got a sneaky feeling for Valenzuela in that fight. Like Pitbull, again, he's the favourite in that fight. And he's got, you know, he's really becoming a big name in the sport. He's going to have massive support in LA. That's a really, really good fight. And I wouldn't be surprised if Valenzuela run him really close or even won that fight. Jarrell Miller looks great. You know, he's been training with Boots and Bosey in Philadelphia. He's really fit at the moment. And obviously Andy Ruiz, who's going to have massive support there as well. he's coming off a massive delay and period of inactivity as well. So that's going to be a really interesting fight. My favourite fight on the card, Jared Anderson against Martin Bakole, right? When I went to see Jay Prince and Shakur the other week, I went down to watch Jared Anderson spar. It's the first time I've seen him up close, the first time I've seen him fight, really, away from TV. Very exciting fighter. Loves to stay in a pocket, loves to try. This could be a brilliant heavyweight fight, honestly, because you are about to find out exactly how good Jared Anderson is. And I said to Shakur, mate, this is a tough fight. Like, if Martin Bakole comes in shape, and if he's prepared to go to the well, this is a very, very, very difficult fight for Jared Anderson. And I really applaud him for taking it, because Bakole's profile is not that big, but he's a definite top 15 heavyweight, may even be a top 10 heavyweight. So that fight, Jared Anderson against Martin Bakole, for me, is a brilliant, brilliant fight. You know, two great heavyweight fights, Pitbull Cruz. Then you've got David Morrell in an all-action fight. You've got Andy Cruz as well. It's just, you know, the night is going to be spectacular. It really is. And I can't wait to get involved next week. You know, a lot of promoters working together for that Riyadh season LA card. And, you know, we've got a lot of people on the ground helping out as well. So very honoured to be a part of it. And I think fight fans at the BMO Stadium, if you haven't got your tickets, get your tickets. Eminem's performing, great night of boxing. Or if not, watch live on DAZN. You know, I think it's an incredible night of boxing.
Edward, a fan favourite in Derek Chisora fights Joe Joyce in sort of, I want to say last chance saloon, but you could probably say that for every fight for Chisora over probably like the last 10 years or so, or certainly a whole load of them. Quite fun, I suppose, when all the heavyweights are out in Saudi and Riyadh season at the minute. I suppose it's nice that we've got one back on our UK shores. What did you think? And did you see Adam Morley having a little spat with Derek, calling him a pussy?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't been that active on the old socials last couple of days, but I'll have a little butchers tonight. For me, they're two guys that potentially shouldn't be fighting anymore, right? But the styles, like, if there's going to be a fight that I'm happy for Derek to take, caring for Derek, it's Joe Joyce. And if there's a fight that I'm happy for Joe Joyce, it's Derek Chisora, because both guys, with all due respect, are past their best. You know, they're not overly fast. It's not like Joe's not going to be able to deal with the speed and the sharpness of Derek. It's not like Derek can't deal with the speed of Joe Joyce. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's actually a good matchup in that respect. I don't know who wins. Obviously, I'm funkying for Derek. He's our boy. I like Joe. I think probably Joe is the slight favourite, maybe because of his activity. But again, it's activity that's seen him come off 2 back-to-back losses. So I think it's a 50-50 fight.
Eddie, I know Frank Smith had dinner with Conor Benn last week. Are you able to provide us any sort of... I just feel like every time I ask you, it feels like a bit of a never...
Yeah, not really, no. I mean, look, I think everybody's working. I think the one thing that we've done now is get Conor out of camp, because he's just, you know, he's been in camp for 2 years. We know he's had those 2 fights in America, but hopefully now the end is near and we can get that official date from UKAD and the board where he's clear and available to fight in the UK. And once he does that, he'll be coming straight back into a massive fight.
Do you expect that to be the next sort of, what would I say, maybe notable part of this whole process?
Yeah, just to say, you know, let's clear this up. Like it seems like if you admit guilt, you get treated better than if you fight your innocence. And I don't, you know, I'm not a believer in that. But anyway, it is what it is. And hopefully now we can just draw the line.
I was thinking earlier, Alicia Baumgartner, it was about a year since she made her sort of hometown homecoming for Matchroom in Detroit. Obviously, since then, we know everything that happened with the failed test, and then the WBC came out, gave her a ranking back, said she's clear to fight, or whatever the situation is there. Is she still with Matchroom, and do you expect to work?
Yeah, she has a fight left, and yeah, we have that purse bid that was won by somebody else, and we're waiting on a date. It's been a very frustrating period for her, but that date, I believe, is coming for September. She'll fight Delphine Pursoon. And, you know, we're already talking to her about what's next, and some huge fights out there for her. And I just want to see her back in the ring, get that Pursoon fight locked in, and then we can go from there.
Johnny Fisher has not disclosed who his opponent is, but said it's locked in ahead of the Catterall Pro Grey card. Someone who's experienced, tough. Are you able to give us some clues?
No, I'm not, but I believe that'll come out today or tomorrow. I think tomorrow or something. But it's a good fight. It's, it's someone that we really think will give him rounds. A guy that's mixed with a lot of top level guys, kind of like renowned for being a real tough, durable heavyweight, and hopefully it can give Johnny some rounds. He's going to box August 24th on the Catterall Pro Grey card. Then we're looking to box him in Australia in probably November, and then he's going to headline back in the UK. So we've got big plans for Johnny, and looking forward to seeing him and the Bosch Army out in force August 24th at the co-op.
Gilberto Mendoza of the WBA put out a tweet saying that he would like to see Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. versus Jake Paul for a world title. Your thoughts?
Did he say a world title
Well,
or a title?
yeah, but
I don't think he said a world title. Gilberto is a respectable boxing man. I think he would have meant a regional belt. I think people are taking it too far. I mean, I watched the Serrano fight. I watched the Chavez fight. I actually fell asleep before the Jake Paul fight because it was late when it come round. And look, one thing you can't knock is the commercial draw of Jake Paul. Like, you saw the crowd there at Tampa. Him and MVP, they do a good job of the production and everything. I just think you've got to just once you position it, it's not quite Misfits, but it's pretty, like when you watch it up close, you can tell it's not real professional boxing, really. Like, maybe that's a bit harsh. It's not quality professional boxing. I'm talking about elite, but it is what it is. Like, it's just a guy there's a lot worse fighters out there than Jake Paul. I know he's not, he's never going to be a world-class fighter. That's just my opinion. But there's a lot worse out there than him. And he's doing it, he's bringing eyeballs to the sport. The events are huge. I don't know the numbers. I'm sure it did well. So good luck to him.
where are you at with Devin Haney?
Nowhere. I mean, obviously, Devin's in recess at the moment. There could be a potential fight with Liam Paro, but no real conversations. I'll probably catch up with him in LA as well, like I will most of the other boxing world.
You mentioned that you watched Amanda Serrano. Sky Nicholson is still calling her name. Doesn't look like she's going to get any bites on it anytime soon. She looked great again. Thought we were going to see a stoppage there in Philadelphia. What's the plan now if it's not Serrano?
Yeah, I thought she boxed fantastically well. I mean, Vargas was dangerous, and she's getting better and better, Sky. And I think you're probably only seeing 40 or 50% of how good she's going to be. She wants the Serrano fight real bad. Realistically, that fight's not going to happen anytime soon. She's going to fight Katie Taylor. I don't think she'll fight Sky Nicholson because I think the style's all wrong with her. I think she would if the money was massive, but when's it going to get up to that level? So for Sky, there's really two fights. One is Tiara Brown, which is a fight we love. That's supposed to be the mandatory, but then we're also told that Raven Chapman was the mandatory. She's had 4 defenses of a WBC international fight. I actually spoke to Queensbury this morning about that fight because our intention was to always do that fight in October or whenever that's going to be. So hopefully we can get that made. If not, we'll fight Tiara. But honestly, she'll fight anyone. She loves the Raven Chapman fight. She's always wanted that fight. She loves the Tiara Brown fight. She wants the belts, and now it looks like the IBF belt's freeing up. So, Raven Chapman, Tiara Brown, whoever it's going to be, that I think they're the two fights for 2024, and then hopefully a unification in 2025. But she's going really well.
Edward, some man for one man. I feel like I've morphed into you recently with the hospitality experience at the Euros. See the little selfie.
Oh, I thought you were actually rounding up the interview because we need to do that. We've got another
I was just
but yeah, go on.
Myself before we ran.
Oh, right, because it wouldn't be normal if we didn't get a big up in for Parsons. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Do you see the little Jude Bellingham and Lando Norris photos, mate?
Well, you just look like some ball boy that was down in the I mean, what was that all about?
Hospitality show.
Hospitality
At the Euros.
You just looked like a crazed fan that was like fringily waiting around at the end.
Fringily waiting around. Oh, that's
horrible.
Jude watches the videos of me and you.
I actually, he liked some of my stuff, and I sent him a DM, and he actually came straight back. I think sometimes we underestimate like how much the football boys love the boxing. I know Deck Rice and guys like that and Madders and stuff like that, but you know, it's good to see them tuning in, and I thought they've done really well. You know, everyone's always going to moan. I think at times we could have played better, but at the end of the day, we made the final. The better team won, but we gave it everything. And I think Jude and Deck and those boys, they did us proud, and they always play to the best of their ability. They always give 110%, and for that, they should be massively supported.
Are you Strava in it in LA?
Yes.
Brilliant. Fight day 5K?
We'll see. It's very hot,
Been
but I'm
lacking
back.
a bit recently, Edward. I'm not seeing anything on Strava.
I'm back. No, I'm back. I'm back. I'm going to do a big run this afternoon, so maybe I'll send it to you.
All right, Shan. I might get the follow back on Strava at last.
No. All right, mate.
See you later, guys. Thank you very much.
Take care. See you.